Welcome to another AOGP Scientology Outside of the Church podcast brought to you by the Advanced Org of the Great Plains, AO-GP.org. I'm here with Quenton Stroud, and today's podcast is Season 10, Episode 28, The Biggest Barriers to Going Up the Bridge that most people have. So first off on deck, present time problems. I've got to handle this. I got to handle that, so on and so forth. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, and also too, just wanted to kind of like talk about why this is coming up at this time, right? Obviously, anybody who is tapping into the podcast, who is engaged in the social media platforms, is doing anything that is allowing them to be connected with what ALGP is doing in the world. Um, there's something that allows us to want to reach for some kind of betterment, right? Some kind of bridge progress, some kind of answer or solution to our problems. And if there's a reach for it, right, that is something that could be had. If you can reach, you can have. It's something that could be had. However, oftentimes what we found is that these things keep getting in the way. And these things that keep getting in the way make it so seemingly difficult for an individual to go up the bridge. And it could be anywhere you are. Like if you're totally new, totally raw public, and haven't done any bridge activity yet, haven't even done a Dianetic session or anything of that nature, then that could be where you are. And you might have some trouble even starting there. Or if you already had some bridge activity, you already gone partway up the bridge or whatever case may be, and want to go clear, want to get your L's, want to get your life repairs, want to get your OT levels done, whatever it is, and yet stuff gets in the way. So what we're going to do today is we're going to break down the top 5 reasons that that's keeping people from going up the bridge, that's stopping you from going up the bridge, how we're going to remedy them, and what to do about it. And so, yeah, you're right. Present time problems. That's number 1.
Yeah, present time problems. What a present time problem on a personality test on an OCA graph. There isn't any improvement because the person is stuck in a problem. So they have this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to handle this, I can't do anything else, I got to handle it. Well, first off, you need to be theta the solver, not theta the problem. How are you going to solve this present time problem or present time problems? Well, you're going to have to go from, I have to have this in order to do this, in order to be this, be on the bridge. Okay, but you need to be a solver. Handle a confusion by handling one thing at a time within that problem. What's one thing you can comfortably face about that and get it handled? Now, the amount of time, that type of thing, yeah, those are considerations. But and also getting into considerations for a moment, what you consider to be true is what you consider to be true. Considerations are senior to the physical universe. So if you consider that you have all these problems that prevent you from getting up the bridge, oh, I can never go OT, that type of thing. Well, okay, so you've got some present time problems that are stopping you. So what's one problem you can handle right now by being theta, the solver of that problem?
Yeah. And what's interesting is something as simple as pulling up your roots and handling your roots, right? Your rudiments. Something as simple as that. The first thing we talk about is just that. Handling are there any present time problems? Or the second thing, are there any present time problems? And if you look at your current situation, right? You look at your current situation, you see what's right there, seemingly insurmountable odds, insurmountable tasks that need to be done before I can do anything else. What's interesting is that if you go and find an earlier similar problem, an earlier similar problem, an earlier similar problem, if you keep going, these problems in our current world tend to resolve. it's actually quite interesting to see it. Like I've actually seen it happen, right? Where you're dealing with this thing right here in front of you, and that doesn't mean you don't have to, take out the trash or something like that. Like you still got to do it, but whatever is stopping you, this is what we're talking about. Whatever's stopping you from handling those things, whatever's stopping you from completing those cycles of action, whatever's stopping you, that's where we come in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, quite honestly, number one, if a present time problem, and that could be financial, it could be not enough time, it could be a host of different things, if these things are stopping you from going up the bridge, ironically enough, the handle for that is to sit down with one of us and have us really go through your rudiments and handle your rudiments to make sure we're really dealing with what it seems to be. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure. Sure, that's the thing is a present time problem is a rudiment. It's one of the things that has to be handled for a session to occur. You have to get these things out of the way. Now in session, you talk about the present time problem, say, yeah, this is the problem, the needle F ends. Okay, now we got that handled. But when you're trying to get up the bridge, you've got to find what it is that's holding you back that's a present time problem. Do you consider it a problem? If you consider it a problem or a stop, then it is a stop. That's all there is to it. So there, right there is a present time problem. Change your consideration and go, how can I handle this? What are the possible solutions? Write down those solutions and then handle the one that's most easily handleable. And you'll go, oh, okay, that's one out of the way of however many things, then the next, and then the next. And then you can get these things resolved because it's only a present time problem if you consider it to be a problem. That's it.
And that brings us to actually what a problem is. Because if you understand the anatomy of problems, there's actually a lecture on this. But if you understand the anatomy of problems, a problem is just postulate, counter
Counter
postulate,
postulate. That's right.
right? Postulate, counter postulate. So you have something that you want to have done, something that you want to do, which is obviously go to the bridge or take care of anything you want to take care of. And there seems to be, there's an apparency of a counter postulate, right? It could be a terminal, counter terminal. I'm trying to move forward, and there's a police officer or a crossing guard says, "Don't go, you can't move." Right? There's a counter terminal, right? Force, counter force. So all of these things are really the anatomy of problems. And once you really understand what a problem is, you kind of look at the situation and you're like, oh, is that all? It's just a counter postulate. It's just a counter terminal. It's just some counter force. It's nothing that's really gonna stop you. It's not really gonna stop you. It's just a counter to what you're trying to accomplish or what you're trying to do. It can't stop you unless you consider it so. Unless you consider it so.
That's right. And that is the consideration. So if you have a postulate counter postulate, your consideration may be your postulate that, well, I can't do this because I've got to do this, this, and this. Well, that's a postulate. You've made the decision that I can't do something. Change your postulate. Spot where you made that decision, and then as is it, and then make another postulate. That's it. Because the things you postulate are the things that stop you from doing everything. It's a decision about something. So that's the
Mm.
anatomy of a problem is you can be your own counter force with your own counter postulate. Simple as
Right.
that. Now
And,
that
and
break.
and it's terrible.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and it's terrible that it really comes down to like how you're situating yourself, how you're positioning yourself. Because if a person is indecisive, which by the way, Dianetics is amazing for helping with indecision. But if a person is indecisive, just the indecisiveness is creating its own counter postulate, right? Like you want to do something, but just the indecisiveness about it, right? That's creating a counter postulate. It's like I decided I know I want to do it, but I haven't decided that I'm going to or how I'm going to or what da, da, da. And so this indecision in and of itself creates this counter postulate, and you then therefore cannot move out of the problem. It could be a relationship. It could be a, like I said, a financial situation, a job situation. Do I want to leave this job or don't I? What do I do? I don't know. And that indecisiveness can really, really slow you down when it comes to making the best moves for yourself and your own mental health.
Hmm. Well, and LRH talks about maybes a lot in the Route to Infinity lectures, and I highly recommend listening to those lectures on a maybe, where it hangs you up
Yeah.
just in a limbo where you're not doing anything. You're like, oh, I don't know, maybe. Okay, but you got to decide. You got to get out of it. You got to choose a vector, a direction, and go in it and get out of the maybe. That's part of a present time problem as well. So,
Hmm.
so that brings us to two: lack of proper training in tech.
Yes.
If you don't know the tech of something, you will be the adverse effect of it. So, so where do you get the tech? Well, you can get on our AOGP website, or you can get on College of Independent Scientology.com, and you can get on Finn, our handy dandy little AI, uh, that you can go in there and you can ask it questions about tech for free. Let me repeat that,
Hmm.
for free. You don't have to go pull up a bunch of volumes and do, a bunch of research over 10 hours. When you have an AI that's sponsored by us for free, where you can go in and you can ask it questions about the proper tech, and you can ask it direct questions about something in your life, and it will give you an answer using independent Scientology, both auditing and policy tech, and give you a solution to something you don't. It sounds crazy, but you can have it give you examples of different ways that you could handle something just by asking the AI. That's pretty mind blowing.
Yes. It's amazing, and the fact that here at ALGP we've literally programmed and created this thing, pulling from LRH material that it answers the questions to life. It's so simple, super simple. Like, and I use this thing for real. Like, I really do use it. Where it's just like, if anything's going on, there is solutions and answers to help you kind of navigate it, right? And so if you have access to the proper tech and you get into a course and uh, uh, get into a proper course where you actually are getting the training and you know how to use this tech, you drill it, you work it, all of this is available to you. And in doing so, your solutions become that much more it's right there. Like, your solutions are that much more right there, because now I have what I need to know to do what I need to do. You know
Yeah.
better, you do better.
Yeah. You can go in there and you can say, I have this problem. I'm trying to get up the bridge, and explain it to the AI, and then ask it for 5 different ways I could solve this problem using LRH technology. How about that? That's that's
Wow.
that's pretty phenomenal. And you could
Never
give.
before in history.
Never before in history can you do that. So the lack of proper training in tech, and the reason why we're bringing this up from this angle, is because, yeah, it's a real issue. It's something that everybody suffers from, where they don't know where to look, they don't know what to call it. And you can go in there and you can just explain your situation and say, give me some technology to help handle this present time problem, or whatever that you have going on. It doesn't matter what it is, it understands it. So you don't have to. Back in the past, it used to be, well, I need to come up with the money to do this course to learn how to handle this problem. No, you don't have to do that now. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do courses, but what I am saying is in order to get you up the bridge faster, you can ask the AI, and it'll give you real life solutions on how to handle your program to get on the bridge much faster than it would if you didn't know where to look. I mean,
Hmm.
to me, that's a crazy, crazy, great solution to handling whatever's going on with you without spending a dime. which is,
Yeah.
money is a big issue for people. So that's a,
Well,
that's a,
yeah, that go ahead.
that's the best solution that's ever been offered.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's free. It's backed by and programmed with thinking with LRH Tech as its code of reference, its frame of reference. So that's, I mean, it's again, it's just a phenomenal free tool that is available. And so I definitely encourage you guys to use that to get the know that you need to know. And then, of course, you got to, make the decision, which is going back to number one, make the decision to start to implement it so that you can start to get some results and some remedies in your life.
Exactly. And that brings us to number 3, withholds.
Mm. Listen, with the case gain cannot be made amidst withholds. It's just a thing. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about all this is that when a person is carrying these withholds, what they're really doing is that they're suppressing or depressing or compressing or lessening on whatever level their own power. Withholds lessen your power, or it causes you to lessen your own power.
Cause
Withholds
you
cause you to lessen your own power.
right, you withhold yourself from doing more harm, keeps you out of an
Yeah.
area. So if you're not getting up the bridge, then a good chance you have some withholds that you need to get off. And you can go in and
Mhm.
you can ask Finn, how do I do an overt and withhold write up? And it will
Mhm.
give you the steps from the OW policy on our AOGP website or the Independent College of Independent Scientology.com. And you can go in and ask it, how do I do an OW write up? Give me an example of an OW write up. I mean, wow. And then you can sit down once you get some mass on how to do an OW write up. That's something you
Mhm.
can do on your own without having to pay an auditor to do it. Granted, it's more efficient to do it in session, but if you're having trouble getting on or up the bridge, write down your overts and withholds. And you'll
Mhm.
find that as soon as you do that, the phone starts ringing.
Whew,
Quite,
whew, this is so good.
yeah, quite literally, the phone starts ringing because now you're reaching again.
Yes, that is so interesting. Yeah, because wow, this is I'm actually having my own cognition here. It's really interesting because, and it could be across any of your dynamics, across the board in any area, in anything. I had to do an OWS write up, and in doing my OWS write up, particularly around a certain situation, money started really coming in for me. And now that you just said what you said, the phone started ringing. Money started coming in for me because I was able to like get off any overs and withholds on my money lines just by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And the money started coming in. And then get this. And so when other future money problems, right? Present time problems, terminal, counter terminal, when future financial problems or future financial issues started coming up, I had the money to handle that. But if I had never done the OWs write up, it would have just been yet another thing, yet another thing, yet another thing, yet another bill. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that right there is gold. Right there is gold, because just having these OWs and these withholds, it prevents the case gain. Hear me. It prevents the case gain that you're really reaching for. We all got stuff, right? We all got stuff we want to deal with. We all got stuff we want to get through. But withholds prevent you from getting case gain. And so if you want to get some betterment or case gain in your finances, if you want to get some better or case gain in your relationships, if you want to get some betterment or case gain in your health, do a write up, do them, put them OWs out. Get it out.
That's right.
It's going to change your life.
Yep. And just go to the AI and ask it, how do I do an OW write up? Give me an example of an OW write up, maybe on something that you have a withhold on. How would I do an OW write up on a withhold of X? And it'll give you an example. And then you go, oh, okay, I see how to do this. And then you can get those withholds off. It really, really works.
I love it.
That brings us to 4. What's 4, Quenton?
Number 4 is one of the top five barriers for you going up the bridge. Number 4 is not doing anything, just thinking. Right? This is actually a thing. When we talked earlier about being decisive, making a decision, and not doing something. So you as a spiritual being, you believe that your innate awareness is that my postulates stick. Your innate awareness, your innate knowingness is that my postulates stick. I do what I intend to do, right? That's just a natural innate awareness as a being. And yet, if you keep withholding yourself, or if you keep pulling yourself back, or if you keep thinking, we call it analysis paralysis. If you keep thinking over this stuff over and over and over again and never really doing anything about it, right? You're actually kind of training yourself almost that your postulates don't stick, that your work don't work, right? It's not working.
Mm-hmm.
It's not working for me. I don't know why it's not. I don't know why this doesn't work for me. I keep trying to pay these things off, and I keep getting back in this situation. I keep trying to get out of this situation, but I keep getting back into it. It just keeps happening to me. Why is that? You see,
Mm-hmm.
you've convinced yourself that your postulates don't stick. They don't work.
That's a
And
postulate.
so yeah, it's a conclusion. It's an intention. Your intentions don't work. And so you put this intention out there, this self-created truth, you put it out there that this is what I want. This is what it is to be. And yet then we don't do nothing about it. Just don't give a call, don't give an email, don't give a message on Facebook, don't do nothing about it. And so you never go up the bridge. You never go clear. Isn't that terrible? Just because you didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
No other
And
reason.
yeah, I mean, if you're not putting any effort into it, okay, listening to a podcast. I don't know how many people we have say we love the podcast. They really inspire me. That's doing something. Doing something. Listening to a lecture, listening to some podcasts. Podcasts are easy. Not many words you have to look up. We try to, clarify them and all that stuff in the podcast as much as possible. But doing something, getting some involvement in it, not just thinking about it and going, I do need to get up the bridge. I do need to get up the bridge. I do need to get up the bridge. All right, get inspired. Get in that space where you're starting to think about this by listening to podcasts, listening to LRH lectures, reading a book, Fundamentals of Thought, New Slant on Life, those types of things, and imbue yourself into it. And then you'll find that you start thinking with it and then not doing something. You're doing something on the subject, on the third dynamic, the first dynamic, and you'll start to be able to apply this stuff instead of just being in a loop of, well, I really need to, I really need to, I really need to. You've got to do something about it. And if you put something in motion, that then puts something, everything pushes everything else in this universe. Think about that for a second. How does
Ooh,
electricity
I like that.
how does electricity get made? How does a car propel itself down the road? It's one thing pushing against another. Guess what?
Mm.
Guess what? You are the alpha. You are the omega. You are the prime mover in the physical universe. If you're not
Yes.
if you're not doing anything, what's being moved? What's being changed in the
Nothing.
physical universe?
Yeah, nothing.
You have to have something. You have to rub a little dirt on it, get back in there, and
Well,
do it. Listen to a podcast, listen to a lecture, put that book on the table. Don't let the book just sit there. Turn a page, open the cover, start to read a couple of paragraphs. Then
Mm-hmm.
you're moving something, and you'll start thinking about it, start ruminating about it, and then you'll go, yeah, that was pretty good. I noticed that today. That's how you get
Mm-hmm.
things moving. Is you have to push some matter, energy, space, and time around, and that requires a postulate. I'm going to open the book. That's a postulate.
Mm-hmm.
That's a postulate.
You
Yeah.
know, I love this, and I totally agree that in this universe, everything we live in a relative universe, like the theory of relativity, right? We live in a relative universe where one thing is relative or related to something else, and this is why I encourage. This is just me, and depending on where you are in your own comfort level, you can decide. But I really encourage communication, right? I really, really encourage communication. Communication is a universal solvent, right? With communication, we can fix anything, we can solve anything, as long as we do enough of that, right? And so I encourage, yes, listen to the podcast, listen to the lectures, clear your words, read a book, do the things that needs to be done. I totally agree with that. And get in communication. This is my little 2 cents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And get in communication. Because what happens is that when you're able, this is I think as Einstein said, you cannot get out of a problem with the same mind as which that you got into it with, right? So you can't get out of a problem with the same mind. So you're gonna have to do something that enhances the way you think, enhances your mind, enhances what you're working with. And it could be that having a calm cycle with me, with Jonathan, with somebody else within the college, with somebody else in the comment section of this podcast or whatever, by having a calm cycle and getting some communication going on, asking for help, saying this is what's going on with me. I need to know what tech I need to find. I need to know the reference. I need to know whatever. By getting in communication, you're actually changing the mind that you got into the problem with.
You're moving something around,
Yeah. Yeah.
moving
Y-
particles.
e- e- even if it's mental mass, you got to move that mental mass out of the way so that you can think with something greater than what you've been, you know what I'm saying, what you've been rocking with. So I absolutely love this because you now have a workable solution to whatever's going on. You got a workable solution because you got to start throwing some stuff around, throwing the cue ball to hit another ball to go into the pocket. Oh, now we got to win. I
Right.
love it.
That's right. And that brings us to number 5, not getting the right auditing.
Ooh, gosh,
Now,
this is huge.
yeah. Now, this is, start, change, stop type of thing. Maybe you've gotten auditing in the past. Maybe you haven't. If you've gotten auditing in the past, you know it works, but you're still not moving. Things aren't changing. Maybe you need some case cracking auditing to get things
Mhm.
handled. That might start with doing some OW write ups, doing some overts and withholds. But in the end, not getting the right auditing is what you need to have in order to break whatever it is that's keeping this situation occurring. That's the thing, whether it's PTSness, whether it's uh, perpetual thoughts, whether it's you keep having the same problems. If you didn't get the right auditing in the past and you're still having these things happen, then you haven't gotten the right auditing, because what you need to have handled is what's right in front of you that's stopping you from getting up the bridge. So it's important to get the right auditing, and just the indication of what it is that you need. You need to get in touch with us and say, this is what's happening. And we can say, well, this sounds like this. Let me show you this reference. We can hop on Zoom with you. We can go over the reference with you and say, this is something that will handle whatever it is that is a roadblock in your life. Simple as that.
Yeah. Well,
You got
and isn't that a part of what the life repair? does.
Yeah, that's what life repair is for. Is we find the things that are going on with you that are charged, that you have your attention on right now, or the things that you don't, your attention is avoiding. Those are the two key questions. What's your attention avoiding, and what's your attention on? Those are
Hmm.
the things that need to be handled. That's the right auditing that needs to be done. So I'm not telling you to ask yourself that, but I'm sure our listeners are going, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what my attention is on the, oh, I don't want to think about, okay, that's what needs auditing as well.
I guess
Is
I never thought about what is your attention avoiding? I never thought about that. Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah. I guess yeah. If you not handle it, you don't want to think about it. Yeah.
yeah. What is your attention avoiding? So
Mm.
getting the right auditing comes from those two questions. And those are super questions that we can get information from and address it, even if it's on a non-auditing level, and say, well, here's some tech that you can handle this thing right now to get started on it so that we can get you in session. And there are
Hmm.
lots of tools that you can do on your own, whether it's ethics conditions or, like we said, OW write-ups, might be false data stripping on something that's holding you back in an area that is just a mess. There's something there you can't think with, you can't confront, you can't handle. So that's how you get to the right auditing. Is we need to find out what your attention is on and what your attention is avoiding to get the
Hmm.
right auditing, and then we can write a program for you and get you in session on Zoom in your own home with the theta meter and get it handled. So you start moving up the bridge, things get unstuck. This is what happens when you're not getting up the bridge, is you're at a point of stuckness. It's a problem.
Hmm.
Postulate, counter postulate, like we said earlier in number one. So getting the right auditing consists of getting the information on what it is that is keeping you in this situation. Because if you'd had the right auditing, if you knew it was wrong with you, it wouldn't be wrong with you.
Right.
Think think about that. So we need to find out what it is that you're not thinking with, and then getting it straightened out that you don't know about. And that takes, as Quenton said earlier, that takes some communication with one of us to help
Hmm.
you find that area, and then we can discharge that area through communication, whether it's in session or out of session, and start providing you with solutions, real life solutions that you can then apply, and then start making some forward motion or tone arm motion in the physical universe by getting things to start moving to unblock you from being able to get up the bridge.
That's
And that
brilliant.
that's that. So I hope this
Yeah.
has been. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that this is really helpful because even when I was first on my journey looking for an independent auditor, independent Scientology auditor, it was really important to me, like actually these things that are listed here, it was important to me to handle my stuff first. Like I knew I need to handle my present time problems, and I needed to make the decision that I was going to commit to doing something. I didn't know what at the time, but I was going to commit to doing something to get myself back on the bridge and get myself moving. I had finished my Puriv and the whole bit, and I was like, okay, I want to do this. I had done some quads as far as like the some of the grades about communication and stuff like that, and I wanted to continue, but for years, and I'm literally talking about from what 2013, 2014, so almost a decade, like I had been stalled, right? I had been stalled on my bridge progress because life happens, and my son and this is that and just all this stuff. And so when I started looking again, and as I was vetting various possible independent Scientologists or people out there in the field, I was trying to find somebody who really could help me with these things. The biggest thing for me was a present time problem. I knew the tech and I was able to access the tech, but I wanted to make sure that I had it in. So training was really important to me, or somebody who also had the tech and training available. Boy, oh boy, those withholds. Those withholds I had to get those off. And that's what really, really, I think opened up a lot for me because I was willing to do the work and do some activity towards it. But I wanted the right kind of auditing. I wanted what was going to work for me and not just, well, that's what we do here, or that's how I do it, or that's my thing, or da, 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 da. I wanted somebody who could do what I needed to get me up the bridge. And when I found ALGP, it was just that. It was like, okay, you got the right tech. You're clearly working with original LRH materials. Okay, I can listen to the lectures. I can get in on a course on the college. I could do everything I need to do, and now I just need to move some stuff out of the way so I can go ahead and pay for this and make the moves I needed to make. And I did, and I'm not looking back. It's so fantastic. So yes, this is exactly the route.
Yeah, yeah. It's easy to get unstuck when you have a third dynamic working with you to help you get it handled. We do it all the time, all the time. So I hope this has been enlightening and illuminating. There are other things as well that we could get into, but these are the top five. And there has to be a willingness. You have to be willing. If you're in apathy on it, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to get into action on the tone scale. In closing, action by doing something, anything, and handling one particle of a confusion, handling one particle of the problem. Get into action. Move up the tone scale. If you need to go out and take a walk and get your metabolism going and get things rolling, get into action. Go out and take a walk and then coming back into the apartment or the house and then look at it, handle it. Handle one thing and get into action. You have to be willing to get up the bridge. And you have to ask yourself, am I willing to get up the bridge? Well, I know the tech works. I know it's done this for me. I know it's done that for me. Be willing. If you're willing, you will be able. So for Quenton and I, we hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and we will see you tomorrow for another one. We've got 5 lined up this week, and keep looking for us. You'll get a notification on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Make sure you check out the College of Independent Scientology.com. Go use Finn, our AI little robot in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, or ao-gp.org. Ask it some questions, get into action, be willing to communicate with Finn, and throw in there whatever you want and get the information that you need to apply it and put it in the physical universe. And keep listening to the podcasts. We've got almost 150 of them. Do that. Listen to a different podcast every day. Get yourself inspired. Bring yourself up the tone scale. It really works. So namaste, and we love you. Bye-bye.